occurs, the law's coming. You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
The United States of America is the most successful nation the world has ever known. I think that's largely because we're the freest nation. Humans cannot reach their potential, cannot realize their dreams unless they're free.
If prosperity were easy, everybody around the world would be prosperous. If freedom were easy, everybody around the world would be free. If security were easy, everybody around the world would be secure. They are not. None of this is going to be easy. But this is the United States of America. It takes an extraordinary effort. It takes extraordinary commitment. It takes extraordinary strength. The Valley Forge wasn't easy. Going to the moon wasn't easy. Settling the West wasn't easy. We are the American people. We have seen difficulties before, and we always overcome them. This is about rolling up our sleeves. We might have some differences, but at Americans putting our head down and getting it done.
America has a new voice with real talk and no fake news. It's the Wayne Dupree Show.
What's up, everybody? This is the Wayne Dupree Show. I'm your host, along with Hutch Bailey Jr. and Stacy Rush. What's up, people?
Good evening, Mr. Dupree. Good evening to RSBN and everywhere else. Hi, Stacy. How are you?
Good evening, y'all. I'm doing great. I hope everyone out there listening tonight is doing great as well as you two.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are your conservative fix. That's right. We don't hold anything back. We are going to tell you. I mean, honestly, you know what? Let me be truthful about that, because sometimes we do hold stuff back, and we kind of talk about it after the show. Maybe we should have said that, but we try not to. Okay, we try not to hold things back. This is a real talk. This is a real talk for adults. If you feel like you are an adult, then you have come to the right. You've come to the right place. We want to thank everybody that's tuning in through Spreaker.com, RSBN, K-Truth Radio. We also have WCCDAM out of the greater Cleveland area. We also have CRN Digital Talk. We want to thank everybody out there on the West Coast. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest calling in tonight from the White House, Associate Special, I keep on getting it wrong too. Associate, let me see, where is it at?
There, let me look at my email when you let me know that they were coming on. Associate
Research Director. Okay, he's going to be talking about Obamacare. We got some questions. Yeah. And I was reading from the Washington Times earlier this afternoon that President Trump was going to take to the trail. He's going out. He's going to fly around. He's going to sell it. There, Hutch.
Well, he can try. I mean, I'm counting on maybe he's going to get in there and do a little bit of the art of the deal, and maybe turn this into something better than it is right now. Because Paul Ryan's out there and he's tripping all over himself. I mean, that's just me. Yeah,
I heard he. Whatever. Stacy, what do you think? You know what? I wrote something real quick on it, Stacy, and I was like, listen, President Trump gets out there in front of the people, rally. He doesn't care what he talks about, really. Mm-hmm. They want to be around the man that they put into office. This man beat the media. He beat the political establishment. He beat the globalists. He beat globalists. He beat the New World Order. We got him in. I don't know if this is bad, but we don't care what he got to say, as long as, he stands almost like a trophy for us. We should care, though. We should care, but he stands as a trophy for us because we beat them, right?
Right, and I think that I can understand exactly what you're saying, because Donald Trump occurred because of everything that's been going on in D.C. for decades.
True.
And so I do feel that way. I mean, I think that it is. It's we, the people, giving the big middle finger to the Washington establishment. And so, yeah, I mean, you say trophy, I say middle finger. So I hear what you're saying.
That's a good
Well,
one, too.
the thing is that we beat Ryan to get there.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Scalise to get there. We beat all these people that are championing this. We even beat Mitch McConnell to get there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that makes me nervous. And you know what, though? I'm not going to be nervous because every time I get nervous, Trump comes out with a winner. And I still think he's got something in his holster. I don't think – I listened to Rand Paul say, hey, there's separation between Trump and Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know what? This guy's playing three-dimensional chess. Let me just sit back and watch.
Right.
And I hope that that's the case. You know, I really do.
I do too.
Trump is putting a lot of his, I don't want to say credibility on it, but he's out there saying we're going to get this plan. It's going to be a great plan.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna pass it. This is going to get done.
Yeah.
And everything that I've heard about it and read about it thus far, I'm not thrilled with it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of conservatives aren't. So, I hope you're right, Hutch. I hope he does have something up his sleeve.
I agree. Stacey, I totally agree with you. Another Republican yesterday, senator, came out against it too, the way that Paul Ryan is doing it. So, I don't know when the rubber meets the road on this thing. I mean, sooner or later it's going to happen. Hutch, you look pretty, man. You look pretty tonight with that little shirt.
Hold on now. That's handsome, brother. That's not pretty.
Oh, my fault. Okay.
I'm going to get it right.
You still look cute. You still look cute. Okay, so, you look good, man. Where's your tie?
No, see.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay.
You got me stuttering over here.
There we go. Okay.
Continue.
Yeah.
As LBJ would say, continue.
Continue. Hey, look, real quick, and I'm not going to last on it long. Saw a story this morning, first thing this morning. I'm glad I didn't have any milk and cereal milk because it would have curdled it. Snoop Dogg, rapper Snoop Dogg, came up with a video. And let me say this. Y'all had 8 years to do this crap to Barack Obama, and y'all didn't do nothing. Y'all had 8 years to go after Barack Obama because he didn't do a damn thing for the black community, except for give y'all phones that had his name on it. And he increased food stamps for minorities all over. And notice, when I say minorities, I didn't say black people. I said minorities.
Because it's not.
But where's this boldness that you're coming out against Donald Trump now? I mean, what Snoop Dogg did in doing a video, and he knew it was wrong. He knew it was wrong. Snoop Dogg knew he was freaking wrong, man. And now the video's out there. The video shows him shooting a person who looked like Donald Trump in the video. Now, I understand liberalism is a disease, and y'all don't think like we do. I know you don't. But there has to be one slither of common sense somewhere in your cranium that says you can't do that, because you have stupid-ass people out there right now that don't know right from wrong. They're supposed to, but they don't. And
What's worse than that, you look at what he said, and everything that he said was a condemnation of what the Democrats have done to the minorities in this country.
Right.
The dude's only been president 50 days.
Yes. And Stacey, that's what I was talking about. He's only been president for 50 days. I put out a tweet before the show. I want all the liberal women, because this is new women's movement 2017 now. I want all the liberal women to respond to me and tell me what rights have you lost in the last 50 days. That you have to march, that you have to act a fool, that you have to now start walking behind a Muslim woman, that terrorist Muslim woman that was convicted of killing 2 Jews. How in the hell? Y'all lost y'all damn mind in the last 50 days.
And they have. They've absolutely lost their minds. And the only thing I can say about Snoop Dogg is that I am disappointed. I gotta admit, I kind of like Snoop Dogg, but when you have to do a show with Martha Stewart, I'm guessing that you're not quite as popular and famous among the young people as you used to be. So, my guess is that he's going into that I need to be relevant type of thing that some of these liberals do. And I'm with you on the female thing. I truly I don't get this whole missing a day of work because we're so oppressed as women. I have never in my entire life felt like I wasn't given an opportunity because I'm a female. And I certainly don't feel like anything that Donald Trump has done in the last 50 days is prohibiting me in any way, shape, or form. So I imagine you're not going to get very many responses to your tweets except for to be called an Uncle Tom and, all that kind of stuff.
I'm trying to look over in my screen to see what Hutch has on his desk. So, I mean, honestly, I'm trying to look over my screen to see what he has on his desk since we're so close. We are so close, man.
They got rid of that Capitol.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah, they got rid of that one. But man, you what you got over there, man? What you got on your desk? Okay, so all right. So yeah, I didn't think I was going to get any responses back anyway. Stacey, I really didn't because they haven't lost. They haven't lost anything. But it's fun. I mean, any liberal women, and I know y'all probably aren't watching the show, but I beg you to watch the show. I beg you to watch the show. Turn it, call in. Let us know what rights have you lost under President Trump. For those that are watching right now, we enjoy you watching here on RSBN, and we really enjoy the people listening in the chat room. Unless President Trump is speaking, share the show. Share the show right now. Let people know that we are on. We're going to have Mr. Tyler Scott coming on in a few minutes. He's going to be talking about Obamacare. So we do want you to tune in for that. But going back to the Snoop Dogg thing, to end it, actually, this didn't happen to Barack Obama. Nobody. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me. But nobody did a music video, and act like that they were going to shoot Barack Obama.
Oh, please. Are you kidding? We'd be arrested if anything like that happened.
Exactly. So, I mean, Hutch, you didn't even do a video, did you?
No, nothing like that. Okay. And I actually never wanted to kill Obama. Obama was just something that happened to us. But you look at before the Obama administration, they did the same thing to George W. Bush. They actually made a movie about assassinating him.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's going to be several more about Donald Trump. They actually did try to assassinate Ronald Reagan, but he was a badass, man. He took that bullet and said, "I'm here."
Yeah, he did. Well, that's what we were told. We didn't know he almost died.
That's true. And he did ask the surgeons, "Is anybody in here a Democrat?"
Yeah. He look, he played with him. He played with him, didn't he?
He did. He did, because that's the kind of guy he was. And that's the kind of guy, Donald Trump is catching hell. I don't know if you know it, but Barron Trump was locked down today.
What?
There was a pickup truck that was outside of Barron Trump's school that had a military bag in it, and somebody thought it was a bomb, and they took his entire school into lockdown. And some of the little girls in his class were getting Snapchats because I guess the media was saying it was a bomb threat. You people need to stop, man.
God,
man. And in fairness, it wasn't. I'm not saying somebody did something. I'm saying law enforcement reacted.
Yeah.
So this is just something that this young kid and all the kids in his school had to go through because of the level of leftist violence that is occurring in our country. This is something that we got to get a handle on. This is come on, guys, take a breath. And let's get back to living, because this leftist scum that's out there, you look at these colleges, these people that are getting told they can't speak.
Yeah.
At different schools, and they're getting violent. They even beat the teacher up, the professor the leftist professor had to go to the hospital out in Connecticut or Rhode Island, one of the New England states over the weekend.
Damn.
Sad.
It is.
Well, I mean, where else was I reading? I was reading somewhere else that the vitriol that is going on is getting so bad. A whole lot of people, they don't want to go outside. I mean, if they were afraid to vote for Donald Trump before, they're really afraid now with some of this hatred that's coming across. And the hatred really is being directed or rewritten by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I mean, they are. You talk about Uncle Tom's Cabin being rewritten. You know, I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. They are trying to rewrite all the stuff about it. I remember everything about Obamacare. How about y'all?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, meaning. I remember when they wouldn't let Republicans in. They didn't want no Republicans to have anything to do with it. They had the supermajority. They could. Oh yeah. They talked all their game. They went in behind closed doors. They were making fun of everything. And then, honestly, they could have passed it. They could have passed it without any Republicans. But then they came out and tried to make the Republicans look even worse. Well, they don't want to. They don't want to say nothing. They don't want to sign on. You know, and no, to this day, I don't think any Republican signed on to that Obamacare back then.
No, not one of them. Not one. But at the same time, they have had 8 years to coalesce around a plan to repeal and replace this thing. And the way that they're handling this rollout now, I think is just it's so typical of the Republican Party, but you know, I believe it's by design. I used to believe they were feckless and, you know, got in their own way most of the time. And honestly, I believe this rollout disaster is by design, in my opinion.
I think what it is I think, and it's possibly that, but I think what happened is that they believed the media that was in the bubble that they're in, and they could not believe Donald Trump could get elected. I think that they were all prepared for a Hillary Clinton presidency, all of them, lock, stock, and barrel. I think they were ready for that, and I think they were thinking, all right, how are we going to make Obamacare work to our benefit?
Right.
How is my family going to get rich over this Obamacare? I know Ryan was thinking about that.
And ladies and gentlemen, we and Hutch, I totally agree with you on that one. Ladies and gentlemen, I did say that we were going to have a guest from the White House tonight, so I want to make sure that we get him on here promptly, and because I know it's kind of late in the evening, and the White House, you know, they got to have people in there like first thing in the morning. But I like first thing in the morning, earlier than what we probably wake up, Hutch. But oh, you know they are. You know they got to have somebody ready for the president to come in, because he rolls in about 0:30. Exactly.
You know, so somebody got to be there. You can't let the president beat you,
right?
If you're one of the staffers.
No. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tyler Scott served as director of state and regional research for the Republican National Committee during the 2016 campaign cycle, and is currently the associate research director in the White House now. And he grew up in South Baltimore, so he knows about this snowstorm that we're getting ready to get. And he might even be able to talk on that. But Mr. Tyler, how you doing?
Hi, Wayne. I'm doing great this evening. How about yourself? You staying warm up there in Baltimore?
Well, you know what? It's kind of scaring me a little bit. I don't know about these totals. You know, they range from 6 to 18, and I don't know. What do you think?
You know, I as you said, I grew up in this area, and I know you're from around here. I think in our experience, people hype up these storms and get everybody panicking, and then nothing ever ends up happening.
I'm going to be, listen, I'm going to be one mad bugger tomorrow if I don't see some snow on the ground. I am. I mean, whatever. I mean, I just want to see something. I just want to see something. But that's
Well,
go ahead.
Well, Wayne, I gotta disagree with you. I'm rooting against it because tomorrow morning, the president's going to be ready to roll. A foot of snow or no snow.
That's true. That's true. I have my co-host on tonight, Mr. Hutch Bailey Jr. out of Pennsylvania, and Miss Stacy Rush out of Georgia. They are on the line, brothers.
Good evening.
Good evening, Tyler. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I'm happy to be joining you guys and looking forward to maybe talking a little healthcare.
Absolutely, and we're glad to have you on board. I'm just going to throw out something before we get to the questions, though. As Rush Limbaugh always says, Tyler is one of my top 10 favorite male names. That's my son's name, so I had to throw that out there for you.
Well,
Nice.
you know what? That's the nicest thing someone said to me all day, and I'm going to be sure to pass that message along to my mother tomorrow.
Oh, good. I think that's great. That's great. We are thrilled to have you here, and I imagine with the healthcare, you guys are working full time on trying to get some sort of consensus out there and getting this repeal and replacement going.
Yeah, no, yes, ma'am. The healthcare efforts, it really has been around the clock, and a lot of that, to be honest, is not by choice. It's because of the situation that our country's healthcare system is in right now. The reality is Obamacare has brought the American people rising premiums, unaffordable deductibles, fewer insurance choices, and higher taxes. And the president inherited really quite a mess, as he likes to put it. And he understands that there's urgency needed in this situation. So to say we're working around the clock, especially with this president's work ethic, I think is a bit of an understatement. But we're confident we're heading in the right direction.
Hey Tyler, listen, I'm gonna jump right into it. We kind of hang our hats around real talk for real Americans, and that's something that our audience understands. And some of the questions that you might get in the next few minutes, a whole lot of people want to know about, because a lot of people are confused about what's out there right now, especially with Speaker Ryan and the House Republicans, and it seems like a battle cage match with the House Conservatives and some of the Senate Republicans that have joined against Speaker Ryan. Let us know, because I've seen something where Speaker Ryan, the bill that he has is sort of like an amendment to Obamacare. Is that true?
I think that the legislative minutia of step one of this process, I don't really know if I can speak to the technicalities, but in terms of the American Health Care Act and step one of this process, it does a lot to repeal Obamacare. It repeals the taxes that Obamacare brought the American people. Mm-hmm. It repeals the government mandates on individuals and businesses. It repeals the endless spending, the endless run that some of our entitlement programs are on immediately. In this very first step of this three-step process that both Speaker Ryan and President Trump have explained the way this is going to have to work because of the legislative process surrounded by the way the Democrats set Obamacare up.
Gotcha.
And I think that might be where some of the question lies then, because I think that if you're an average person who, goes to their job and had their, healthcare and lives turned upside down with the prior legislation, it kind of seems like it wasn't a three-step process when it was implemented. So can you explain why it's a three-step process now? And maybe it was then, and we just weren't as privy to it because it was basically written behind closed doors and voted on in the middle of the night over a holiday. So is there a different process that the Republicans are trying to put this thing into place than what we had when Obamacare was first enacted?
No, so actually you hit the nail on the head. And I think part of the problem is it sounds like you have a good memory of what happened when Obamacare was crafted, but that's actually the issue at hand. The Democrats are the ones who are essentially forcing us to approach it this way legislatively. They were the ones who passed the bill through reconciliation, which when reform in the legislation and policy goes through has an impact on our nation's budget, it requires the reconciliation legislative step, which is the reason in step one we have to go about it that way. They also handed over an abundance of executive power to the Secretary of Health and Human Services, which is, again, step two of the approach that we're going to take, which is to give Secretary Price the ability to roll back all these regulations and all these burdensome rules that the Obama administration implemented on our healthcare industry. And then step three is we're going to pass additional bills similar to the way they did surrounding Obamacare to bring it full circle and make sure that everything we need to make our healthcare industry great again is able to be achieved. So yes, this is a result of the way the Democrats created Obamacare, actually.
Hey, Tyler.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hutch.
Tyler, Hutch Bailey Jr. here from Pittsburgh. I'd just like to highlight something. When President Trump was elected, he was elected by people that came out of their households, millions of people that had never voted before. And I just wonder if with all of the campaign promises that we are going to repeal every single word of Obamacare. It was said over and over again, and people rallied and they cheered and they threw their hats in the air. Do you think that if this bill passes the way it is right now, which is clearly not a repeal of Obamacare, it's an amendment to the Affordable Care Act. It says so in the first paragraph of the bill. But do you think that these people are going to feel like this is a campaign promise that might have been breached? I mean, this is something that I worry about.
Well, Hutch, I think that's a fair question, but I'd actually like to challenge it a little bit. I think the president made very clear, you're correct, that he was going to repeal and reform America's healthcare industry, but he also, there are some particulars that he pledged he was going to keep, that full repeal would get rid of. He did. He stood up on that GOP debate stage and told conservative Americans, I want to keep the pre-existing conditions provision. And I understand that upsets a lot of some folks in the conservative line of thinking. But the president, when he won the nomination and coalesced a lot of the conservative movement, he did so with the understanding that he was going to keep some of the provisions that the Obamacare essentially brought us.
And just a quick follow-up: how can we expect a free market solution to occur when you have the pre-existing conditions portion remaining? I mean, that's something an insurance company can't survive with. That if people can purchase insurance after they're sick or after they get injured, it's something that's problematic. And I just wonder how we could do that without holding the taxpayers accountable to pay for these additional people with pre-existing conditions. It's something I never understood, sir.
Well, I think as a part of our three-step process, we're very confident that it is going to bring back competition and choice to the insurance market. One of the things that the president did run on, along with the notion that he was going to keep the pre-existing conditions clause, he said he wants to knock down the rule that you can't buy insurance across state lines. That is totally something that stifles competition, limits choice, and ultimately probably and encourages the rate hikes that a lot of Americans are facing. So no, I think I would have to disagree. I think through the process that the president and Speaker Ryan have outlined as we approach healthcare reform, we do feel we can restore choice, because really the lack of choice has been this problem the whole time, and that's what's sending prices through the roof. So to restore choice and options to the American people, we believe it will have the natural free market effect of bringing costs down to what we believe should be something to be at a more appropriate level and get rid of all this skyrocketing costs that have really harmed the American people.
Tyler, you said about the state lines. Why didn't why didn't Speaker Ryan add that in this bill? I mean, I think it was in the bill that all the Republicans approved or voted yes last year. And then that brings me to my question, which I've been saying on here. Why didn't they just start with something that everybody agreed with as a starting point instead of this?
I think, as I outlined earlier to the question about kind of the process, the three prongs that this has to go to because of the way we're inheriting the state of our healthcare, and we have to go through a budget reconciliation. That has to come along in the process because we have to bring the reforms that the American Health Care Act are going to do and make sure we get that through so we can get Secretary Price the ability to immediately start rolling back regulation, which will then ultimately take us to the opportunity to get the rest of the president's step three, if you will, through this Congress and ultimately onto the president's desk. But because of the way it's structured, the Congress needs to get something through now, and that requires or limits rather what they can do through this first phase.
But see, that's what I don't understand. And is it better to rush something to get it through now, or is it better to work for it and get it right, and then add whatever you can at the end? And that's why I'm sorry, I just keep going back to, if all the Republicans said that it was good, if they all signed off on it, then that was a good start last year. Granted, Obama vetoed it, but if it was there, if everything was there to start off with, that would have been a great start to start your three-step process with what they had last year.
I certainly don't want to, pretend to be a legislative expert. From what I understand, to get everything accomplished that the president envisions, coming in through these healthcare reforms, it does have to go through this process. I'll defend the president. He was not a member of Congress, so I don't think it's necessarily fair to pin him down on anything that was voted on in previous.
Right. And that's something that I would never do, because number one, he's not a politician. Number two, he didn't have anything to do with this junk Congress that's in there. And I think what I'm trying to do is really separate him from what they're doing right now, because I don't, honestly, truly, I really don't want it to fall back on him if, for this situation.
No, and I think you make a great point, and I think the president recognizes this, and I think he said to some extent, politically, the best thing is probably to wait and let the death spiral continue. Let the insurance marketplace continue to collapse on itself, and the president understands that maybe that would politically be the wiser things to do. But he's the president of the United States, and he's obligated to take care of Americans, and he understands there's millions of Americans who can't afford their health insurance right now. There's millions of Americans whose deductibles are so high, they're having trouble even finding value in their insurance plans. He knows he needs to fix this right now. So he's working around the clock. He's been very inclusive in the process. He's had stakeholders from all over the ideological spectrum in. He had the Freedom Caucus in the other day. Chairman Meadows said that he understands the president is negotiating and discussing in good faith. So I think while certainly there's a sausage-making element to this that I think we can all admit at times looks a little ugly, the president understands there needs to be urgency, and we need to reform our healthcare system. And he truly believes that the American Health Care Act can serve as a step one framework to bring that reform that we need.
We're real quick. I just wanted to. We have some questions from the chat section, but I just want to make sure you said that we needed to get something done right now. Is that what you said? Because when I used the word, why are we rushing? Somebody was like, well, Wayne, we're not rushing. And I was trying to piggyback off of what you were talking about.
No, certainly. I obviously, there is a lot of transparency in this process. It's not getting shoved through in a 24-hour night period. So that's not necessarily what I'm implying or anything along those lines. The president wants to reform America's healthcare industry he does not feel that there's an abundance of time, and that's why he feels the urgency to get the process going. And I think, like I just said in my previous comments, he's doing that. He's meeting with folks from the Freedom Caucus. He's meeting individuals from these influential conservative groups, hearing them out, talking about what the right way to do this would be, with the understanding that there is a limited window and there is a limited amount of time. And I think he's approaching it with that mindset.
Question.
Tyler, go ahead, Stacey.
Wait, hold
Tyler,
on. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, sure.
Diane Green from the chat room wants to know if the Cadillac tax is in the Ryan bill.
I can't recall off the top of my head. I do apologize. I've been very inundated with a lot of the healthcare stuff recently, and I don't want to misspeak on that. So I don't recall right now, actually.
Stacey.
Right. And Tyler, this is Stacey Rush again. I think overall what I think the American people can kind of come back to and take a look at maybe a little bit of mistrust of Congress. And I think everybody, I certainly know I do, want to have some sort of assurance, if you will. We've had legislation in place to have the wall built for years and years and years, and it never got done. And so when we hear this being a 3-step process to really reform our healthcare system, is the Trump administration confident that the Republican Party will be able to deliver on the 3-step process that the Trump administration is behind at this point?
Absolutely. I mean, the president knows that, what he has is he has his word that he made to the voters who put him in office. And the last thing that he would ever do is mislead them or approach a major reform like healthcare without fully understanding that the process that he's going to go about it, he's not going to see it all the way through. So no, I have full confidence in this president for the ability to go through this 3-step process that he's outlined and that he is working within. And I think we're certainly just seeing the beginning, but he also understands that there's going to be urgency with this, and I think you can fully have confidence in that. And I hope the American people do, because I certainly do.
And I just wanted, if you could put a bug in their ears, I'm sure this may be a part of the process, but we actually have to look at tort reform as well with lawsuits against physicians, because that is just a huge issue out there for our average physician and being able to stay in practice in local areas. So I hope that you all will consider that as a part of this reform as well.
Absolutely. No, and that's one of the key buckets that the president intends on handling in bucket 3, obviously bringing reform to medical malpractice lawsuit system, ending doctors' incentives to practice unnecessarily costly medicine care, and just totally bringing that reform forward, along with the state lines and a number of other things that we intend on doing once we can get the American Health Care Act through and obviously follow through with Secretary Price's work.
Hutch.
Now, Tyler, we fully support the administration. We were one of the people on the front lines over a year and a half ago, supporting this administration and getting them in. I'm not as concerned with the administration as I am with Congress. If you recall, like Stacey mentioned, the bill was passed to create the border fence, extended 600 miles in 2006. That never happened. John McCain said, build the dang fence. He never wanted a fence built. You go back to Reagan with the amnesty that he authorized, expecting full border security before that. The people are a little nervous about the 3-phase plan. And I just wonder, I hope, I actually pray, that people in your administration are really scrutinizing the way Speaker Ryan, who's been in Congress his entire adult life, has brought this forward with no amendments. I mean, there's no transparency whatsoever with this bill that he's brought out, at least the way that he's done it so quickly. You bring it out Monday and it's going to be coming out Wednesday, and you have no time to really deal with this. And I just hope you people are riding herd on this. That's all I got to say. And I have confidence in you, but please be wary about this Congress.
No, absolutely, Hutch, and I understand your sentiment, and I think that, the president is proud that he ran a campaign on following through on his word and following through on promises, and for once making Washington run the way that it's advertising itself to people, and I have full confidence in the president. It's a great honor to be hopefully playing a small role in this. And I look forward to this, and I have full confidence that our three-pronged approach will bring effective reform, much-needed reform to America's healthcare industry.
We got a question from the chat room. Do you know that Congress only works about 8 days in April?
I don't. It's funny. I don't have the House legislative schedule up in front of me. But I can tell you right now, the president, and by virtue of that, myself and my colleagues, will be working many more days than 8.
We know you will. We just need you to rub off on Congress if you guys can. That would be fantastic.
I also read, Tyler, I also read that President Trump was going to be traveling to do a couple rallies to push the bill.
Yes, sir.
Is he on it right now, or is he on what is there totally 100%, or is he talking about when this thing is done, he's going to be hitting the road, bam, and that's when he's going?
I think I've definitely I think I've covered a little bit about how the president feels and how he's approaching the process with inclusivity and with negotiation. As far as his travel plans are concerned, he is going to be getting out there this week and next week, and because that's where he feels best. He wants to connect with the American people, have the open dialogue, get in front of a crowd, perhaps talk about the bill, bring up specific points, have more conversations. I understand there'll be some members of Congress involved with some of them. I think it's an exciting time, and the president is excited to reform our healthcare system, and part of that will be some travel, certainly.
Well, Tyler, I wanna bring you back on real soon. I want to talk a little bit as this begins to materialize over the next couple of weeks. So we want to have you back on, so you can probably take a couple calls from the audience if you don't mind.
Wayne, I'd love to come back on as a fellow Baltimorean. I anytime I'll be there. You just let me know.
Okay, all right. Well, look, as you goeth through the halls of the White House, maketh sure you write my name on a wall. Just Wayne was here, or Wayne loves y'all. Whatever. Something like that.
Well, Wayne, maybe one day you'll have to just come down and
stop playing.
And see if you can't do it yourself.
All right. Hey, Tyler, how can people reach out to you on social media?
It's funny, Wayne. The president is doing his best to make the government run flawlessly and streamline it. I am getting sign off for my official government Twitter, but I'm still in the process of grabbing that.
Okay.
So by the time I come back and we speak again, Wayne, I'll have a nice official Twitter account.
All right.
And we can do some communicating through that.
Well, I tell you what, I know how to get in contact with you. So we'll be knocking on your door real soon. How's that?
Yes, sir. I look forward to it.
All right.
Thanks, Tyler.
Hey, thanks, Tyler.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tyler Scott.
As you goeth.
Yeah, you like that?
Maketh.
Yeah. That's biblical, man. That's
my man.
That's biblical. I had to get biblical.
As you goeth.
I thought you were going to say, as you goeth forth, please do not letteth Congress pull one over on you.
Lest we make a left turn
There we
into
go.
the valley of the shadow of death.
Because we fear no
And
evil.
our cup runneth over.
Because Samson used
That was good.
Samson used a jawbone of an ass, but we would have kicked some ass's jawbone. No, okay. So oh my God, Hutch looks cute, doesn't he?
See, that's what all the ladies keep all the ladies say. I can't help it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I'm just-
God. I am. I'm watching this chat room go through, and they're like, "He's so handsome."
I know. I know.
It's like,
Makes me look.
You want me to unbutton one button here?
Look at
Here
it.
we go.
Burn, chicka, burn. Look, makes me feel bad that I'm wearing my new gray Wayne Dupree Show official shirt, and he comes out getting. He comes out. Oh! He did open up the second
I
button.
button it right back up. Though, too.
He did open the second.
We'll have none of that.
What's your new name? Like Dan Tanner from Vegas?
Leisure Suit Larry.
So
I didn't know how to do that because when we're in this business, we definitely savor our contacts. But I had questions, man. It's like
no. I
you know
mean,
what I mean? It's like
gotta ask.
I thought they were respectful, Hutch.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing wrong with those questions.
we got look.
I'm nervous about those things.
We have to do that. And honestly, I think he punted on one of them.
Yeah.
What was it? Dan Green wanted to know if the Cadillac tax was in there. He didn't answer that. And some people want to know if the Cadillac. And I meant to ask him about the mandate. I'm not talking about the
that's
mandate. No. There's another one. Mandate
It's a
to the
reverse
insurance
mandate,
companies.
Essentially, it's
Right.
basically charging. What they're doing is that if you go longer than I think 63 days without health care or health insurance, I should say,
Damn.
then when you try and get health insurance in the future, they're going to levy a 30% tax on your premium
Right.
for the first year
Right.
of coverage.
That's in
That's
there.
bad.
That's in there.
Mhm.
And
There's a lot of people in the chat room that also said, because I'm such a hardcore thing on pre-existing conditions, I think since they blew up the health insurance program when Obamacare started, I think there has to be a grandfather period in a perfect plan would be like, okay, on January of 2019, if you haven't purchased, you can purchase health insurance up to then with pre-existing conditions. But if you don't purchase health insurance before that date, you're on your own. Because an insurance company cannot survive if you have a home insurance and you can buy it after the fire.
Right.
It has to be something that you plan, and that this is what responsible people do, and that's why there is insurance. But you can't have
But
an insurance
Hutch,
industry.
you have to remember what Donald Trump has said from day one. I mean, he's not a conservative on this
I know.
particular issue.
I agree.
And so he's going to be 100% behind keeping the pre-existing conditions. There's not going to be a change with that.
I
You know
think
what? I want y'all to listen to something that I woke up on Sunday morning listening to. And this was Chris Cuomo talking to Jim Jordan. Did y'all see that interview? Okay. This is what Jim Jordan is in charge of the House Conservatives.
He's rocking it pretty much.
He is, yeah. He's really taking it. Now, Chris Cuomo was trying to put words in his mouth, but I want you to listen to what or how Jim Jordan answered Chris Cuomo, because Chris Cuomo was trying to say, well, millions are going to lose their health care under this if Republicans get their way. And I want you to listen because, and one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because Hutch just said it just a few minutes ago.
Explain away your leadership being absent about the Flynn resignation by saying they were having Valentine's Day breakfast with their spouses. Now, of course, he was joking, but it's...
That's the wrong one. Sorry.
I was like, what?
Yeah. No, but if y'all go ahead. I'll find it. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that there could be a way to at least end that, because if you, Stacey, if you let it go on in
I know.
perpetuity, the insurance company's going out of business.
I'm
But
with
if
you.
but if
I
you
am
allow
with
it, if you give everybody, if you make a nationwide announcement, if you got pre-existing conditions, now's the time to do it. After that, then we're going to be a responsible people.
But Hutch, you know what's going to happen. Just like the 3 people that got stopped at an airport when the first travel ban came out.
I know.
They're gonna find the 14 that didn't hear the national announcement who now are bankrupt because they didn't get their health insurance.
I got it. Here we go.
President Trump didn't say that this was what he was going to do. He said he was going to repeal this our way. Where's the disconnect?
Well, I think that the thing we have to focus on, keep saying, let's just simply do what we told the voters we were going to do when they sent us here.
But Ryan says that's what this is, and President Trump says that's what this is.
No, this keeps I think this keeps way too much of the structure of Obamacare. This, as I said, keeps some of the taxes. This has a 30% penalty for people who don't have insurance and then go
right.
Try to get
I guess
insurance.
what's in there, but I'm saying, why is it such a surprise to you guys if the Speaker of the House is saying this is us, and the White House is saying this is us? What happened with you guys?
It shouldn't be. That's why we offered a plan. Look, we said if we can't agree on this, let's do what we agreed on last year. After all the Republicans voted for it just 15 months ago. We were able to put it on President Obama's desk. Of course, he vetoed it. We know President Trump won't do that. So we want to help the president do what we all campaigned on. That's what conservatives are focused on accomplishing. And most of all, we want to bring down the premium cost, bring down the cost of insurance, bring back affordable insurance. Our goal should not be to sign more people up for government health care. Our goal should be to put in place market forces that actually bring back affordable insurance for the working class and middle class families across this country. That's what I promised the voters in the 4th District of Ohio. That's why I'm fighting so hard to actually accomplish that.
Let's talk about that as a fair premise here in terms of the substance of the matter. Health care costs are going up. That was true before Obamacare. That was true after Obamacare. But it was less true after Obamacare. And yes, you can cherry pick different income levels and different dispositions of families and find data on both sides. But health care costs are a problem, period. The premiums are not going up as much as they were before Obamacare. They're still going up. So is it misleading to say to people Obamacare is the problem?
Well, it's certainly a big problem. Yes, it is the problem, and it wasn't perfect before. We've forgotten what a marketplace looks like in this country.
But the premiums aren't going up as much as they were before it. Deal with that part.
Well, deductibles, if you can afford the premium, you can't afford the deductibles, particularly if you're in the individual market. Or if you're in the small group market, you can't afford the deductibles if you can afford the premiums. You have fewer choices, all driving it up. So what we're saying is never forget what Obamacare did. It said we're going to have all these mandates, all these taxes, all these regulations, drove up the cost of insurance, mandated that you had to get it, and if you didn't, you got penalized. Never forget that. So let's get rid of that. And sure, there were problems before, so let's fix that too.
Right.
But we think the answer is a marketplace, not more government intervention, not more government control, particularly from Washington, D.C.
But you also can't forget why it was done, which led to you having 20 million more people covered and rates not as high in terms of their rate of increase as it was before. You cherry pick Arizona saying, look at the premium spike. That's because that state didn't put the law into effect. So it shrunk its own pool. It made it uncompetitive.
Chris, this is the fundamental difference. You're viewing success as signing more people up for government health care. I view success as bringing down the cost of insurance. So that's...
Boom.
I can't stand that guy.
He said your success is signing people up. What we want to do is bring the cost down for everybody.
Exactly.
That's the fundamental difference. Okay? That's the fundamental difference. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get ready to go, too. I really wish that we didn't, but we have to get ready to go. What is this? Oh, yeah. Hutch, how do we get... and we'll be back tomorrow night. Our guest will be Bruce Lavelle, who was part of the Trump team. He is running for Congress, and
in Georgia.
Yep, sure is. So,
Georgia.
Stacey, you might be able to help him down there. I don't know. We'll see.
I know. Do you know that I didn't know he was running until last week? Somebody in my neighborhood had one of his signs up, so I'm going to get in touch with his campaign and see what I can do.
I'll do that. I talk to them all the time.
Yeah, connect us, please,
Yep, I
if
sure
you would.
will.
I'd be happy to help.
Okay. How can people reach out to you on social media, Stacey?
You guys can most easily reach me on Twitter. I am at DiscoveringMe40 on Twitter, and I am the Right Rush on Gab.
And Hutch?
SteelCityResistance.blogspot.com, Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, and Gab Berg's Eye View on Twitter. Good night, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm missing one. Twitter, Instagram, and Gab. Yeah. Just type in Wayne Dupree Show. We'll be back tomorrow night here on the Wayne Dupree Show. Happy to have you. God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Wayne Dupree Show. Download our free app in Android, Apple, and Google Play.